Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is actually going to be quite an interesting video that I'm bringing to you guys today. So what we're going to be doing today we are going to be doing a reaction video, and what we're going to be reacting to is my predictions from earlier on in the season. Now for this season in the championship, I actually did two prediction videos where I predicted the league table. I did one of them at the very start of the season before a ball was kicked, and I also did one halfway through the season as well. And let's just say I had some interesting calls, especially at the start of the season, which we're going to be taking a look at today, guys. So this should be an interesting video. So you know, we're going to be looking at a few of my shortcomings, I think it's fair to say, in this video. But what I would love to know from you guys is, what was your worst prediction from the start of the season? I'd be very interested to know, because don't come onto this video and be all like, oh yeah, I predicted all 24 clubs to finish exactly where they did, because that just won't have happened. And like I said, the championship is probably one of the most unpredictable leagues in the world, guys. So cut me a bit of slack when we're looking at these tables, but honestly, I don't actually think we've done that bad. And also let me know in the comments down below who has been, in your opinion, the biggest surprise package this season. I'd be very interested to know that one, because in my opinion, we've seen a lot of surprises in this championship season. So you know what, without further ado, guys, we're just going to plop up the league table, which I predicted at the start of the season. So before a ball was even kicked, guys, this is what I was predicting the championship to go ahead and turn out like. And we'll go through it now, and some of you may be thinking, Ben, what on earth were you thinking at the start of the season? But honestly, as a general flow of things, I don't think that's too bad of a prediction, in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and start out at the bottom of the table. So the bottom three I was predicting were Rotherham, Burton and Barnsley. So Rotherham, I'm not going to take much credit for getting that right, because let's face it, everyone was saying Rotherham would finish bottom of the championship. We then had Burton Albion. I mean, I just thought at the start of the season, with them coming up into the new league, I didn't think that financially maybe they'd be able to compete, but fair play to Burton. You know, they've more than proved me wrong this season, and fair play to them. They've deserved to stay in the championship. And then we have Barnsley in 22nd, and honestly, this was just a poor prediction from me, in my opinion, because really, looking over the squad that they had coming into the championship at the start of the season, it was a very decent squad. You know, they had the players like Conor Hourihane, Sam Winnall, other players like Adam Davis as well. They had a really good squad coming into this league. So for the life of me, I don't know why I predicted them to finish so low. That was just a poor prediction from me, in my opinion. But then the teams up from Barnsley, I don't think they did too bad after that, really. I thought Wigan, they were around about there in the table. Blackburn as well, QPR, Nottingham Forest, Birmingham. I think me predicting Birmingham finishing in 17th was something like a stroke of genius. I mean, at the start of the season, if you go back and watch that video, there were so many comments crying out that Birmingham were going to go ahead and finish in the playoffs. And of course that could have happened, you know, perhaps if they did keep Gary Rowett, but I just had some insider, you know, inkling that Birmingham were going to get Zola and just plummet down the league. And so that's actually quite a decent prediction from me for putting Birmingham so low in the table, but yeah, I'll take that one. And then in 16th, guys, probably my worst prediction of this championship season, I went ahead and put Fulham there, and oh Jesus, this was just a really bad prediction. And of course, in the end, Fulham went ahead and finished in 6th place in the championship. I went ahead and predicted them to finish in 16th place. I actually said in this video that Ross McCormack was going to be pivotal for their season, and that they need to keep hold of Ross McCormack, and that if they lose Ross McCormack, I said that they've been dragged into a relegation battle, and my, how wrong was I? I mean, if you just look at the season that Ross McCormack has had compared to the season that Fulham have had, it's just two complete opposites. So fair play to Fulham. You know, they had a massive clear out of players in the summer, and I just wasn't expecting them to be this good. And then up from Fulham, we have once again some decent predictions, in my opinion, but Bristol City in 15th, they're a bit lower, but that's not too bad of a prediction. Preston in 14th, Ipswich in 13th, yeah, they're reasonable predictions for where they went ahead and finished. And then Leeds United in 12th, which in that's not a bad prediction really. Of course, they didn't get the top 6 in the end, which a couple people were predicting at the start of the season. And I did actually say in this video that I did think that it would take Gary Monk a couple seasons to really get Leeds into that top 6, and it's looking like that may be the case, so maybe that wasn't too bad of a shout. I then put Reading in 11th and Huddersfield in 10th, of course. These are two teams who went ahead and finished in the playoffs, and full credit to them. Not a lot of people were expecting this at the start of the season. Reading especially really came out of the blue. I mean, at the start of the season, we didn't really have too much information on Reading as to how they would do. I mean, they didn't really invest all too much money into their squad in the summer. As well as that, they had Yapstein coming in, a new manager to the Championship. People didn't really know how he'd adapt to it. So I sort of sat on the fence with that prediction. I went ahead and put them in 11th, which compared to where some other people were putting them, that's not a bad prediction, because I saw some people who were saying Reading were going to get relegated at the start of the season, believe it or not. And the same goes for Huddersfield as well. I saw some comments of people thinking that Huddersfield were going to be relegated. I said in this video that I thought David Wagner was a good manager. I didn't think he was quite good enough to get them into the top 6, but still I put them in 10th, which was reasonable really. And then we have Brentford in 9th. That's a decent shout from me. Wolves I decided to put in 8th place. Now, this was quite an exciting time for Wolves at the start of the season. Of course, they got Walter Zenga coming in. They had like John Daddy Bodvarsson coming in. They had Helder Costa coming in. All this abundance of attacking threat and flair coming into the squad. And I thought, you know what, they might be pushing on the door for the playoffs. Of course, that didn't really work out in the end. I then put Cardiff in 7th, and well, what was I thinking with this? I mean, overall, Cardiff have actually gone on to have a decent season under Neil Warnock, but at this time, they had Paul Trollope in charge. So what I was thinking, throwing Cardiff in 7th, I'm not really too sure about. Then into my top 6, I went ahead and put Aston Villa in 6th. I mean, Villa is a really funny one. I saw quite a few comments on this video of people putting Aston Villa all over the shop. Some people thinking they were going to come 2nd, and some people thinking they were going to be back-to-back relegations. But I put them in 6th. It's of course not been the season for them. They invested a lot of money into that squad, which was the reason I thought they would be so high up. I then put Brighton in 5th. Of course, they went ahead and bettered that. They went ahead and got automatic promotion. Norwich I put in 4th. Once again, quite similar really to Aston Villa. They do have the squad good enough for the top 6, but things just haven't clicked for them this season. And then in 3rd place, I put Derby County, and Derby, things just seem to have gone off the rail for Derby this season. I mean, with the amount of managers they've seemingly had this season, nothing went right for Derby. Maybe next season they can find a bit of stability with Gary Rowett. I put them in 3rd, and that just wasn't the case in the end. And in 2nd place, I put Sheffield Wednesday. Now, I have seen quite a few Sheffield Wednesday fans saying that they think I've been quite harsh on Sheffield Wednesday this season when I've been doing my analysis of Sheffield Wednesday. Maybe that's just because I have such high expectations of them going into the season. You know, I honestly was expecting them to go ahead and finish in 2nd place. That, of course, didn't happen in the end. They did get the playoffs though, you know, fair play to them, but throughout the season they weren't really challenging for that top 2. Maybe I should have put Brighton ahead of them at the start of the season. And then in 1st place, I did go ahead and put Newcastle United. I got that one right, so come on boys, that's one prediction in the bag at least. And then moving on to my predictions from halfway through the season. So I think I made these predictions in the roundabout, I think February 1st, something like this was when I made these predictions. So you'd expect these ones to be a little bit more accurate compared to the ones at the start of the season. So let's quickly go over and have a look at what I was saying at this point in the season. So the bottom 3 I was saying at this point, I was saying would be Rotherham, Burton and Wigan. I don't know what I had against Burton this season really. I just thought that at one point they just crumble away and they wouldn't be able to sustain their form, but you know, credit to them, they managed to do it. At this point I did, you know, see Wigan falling back into that relegation spot, so that's the reason of course I put them to be relegated. I still had that inkling that Blackburn would survive though. I mean, this was I think in and around the time when Tony Mowbray came in. I thought he'd just about have enough to keep them up, but that of course wasn't the case in the end. But looking over that table from the teams in and around the bottom, that's not too bad going from me in my opinion. You know, if you swap around Burton and Blackburn, that's pretty accurate at the bottom of the table there in my opinion. And some of the other clubs we then have, you know, we go up the table, that's quite accurate. You know, from mid-table I'd say some of those aren't too in terms of bad of a shout. Brentford I put a little bit low. Of course I wasn't really expecting them to be so good at home as they have been, but and then we get further up the table and I put Fulham into 7th place. at this point in time, I just couldn't see Fulham sneaking into the top 6. I thought that if anyone was going to miss out on the top 6 out of the teams, it was going to be Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, they were showing a few little ruptures in their form. They weren't looking great at this point in the season, and I thought that Fulham maybe testing them, but I thought Wednesday would hold on to this spot. It didn't even come across my mind that Leeds would be the ones to drop out of the playoffs. I mean, at this point, Leeds were looking untouchable. Players like Chris Wood going forward, at the back they were so solid. It just didn't cross my mind that Leeds would miss out on the playoffs, but obviously that did happen in the end. But guys, for my top 2, at this February point, I was still sticking to my gun. I still said that Newcastle will go ahead and win the championship, and in the end they did just that. What a prediction from me, guys. You know, let's give some credit for that. I mean, I'm not going to take that much credit for that, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of people were predicting Newcastle to win the league, but I also saw quite a few people predicting Brighton to go ahead and win the league as well. But I've seen on social media recently, actually, I've seen Newcastle getting quite a bit of stick recently. You know, Newcastle this season can't really seem to win. I mean, when it looked like Brighton were going to go ahead and win the league, they were getting criticised for not winning the league. And then when Newcastle went ahead and won the league, they were then getting criticised by not winning the league by a bigger margin than they already did. I mean, for God's sake, they won the league in the end. I mean, they did make it difficult work for themselves, but they got promotion, and that's all that matters in the end. So, they're looking over those predictions from halfway through the season. They're not too bad, really. But to make matters just a little bit worse, when I did say who I thought would get promoted out of the teams in the playoffs, I said Leeds, didn't I? I mean, that was just an awful prediction. And then in terms of some of my predictions from the poll predictor video, so this is where you guys actually come in to the picture. So if you do cast your mind all the way back to last season, I asked you a question on Poll Predictor for who you thought would be the championship's top scorer, and here were the results of that poll. So by quite a margin, actually, Dwight Gale went ahead and won that vote. He got 133 votes in that episode of Poll Predictor, which, you know, Dwight Gale, that's a reasonable vote in my opinion. He of course came very close to getting that golden boot, but he was just pipped in the end by Chris Wood. And then coming in at second place, I mean, I made some dodgy predictions this year, but this is on you guys. You guys collectively put Ross McCormack to be the second top scorer this season. 78 of you guys voted for Ross McCormack to be the league's top scorer. I mean, how did that happen? I don't know. I mean, I didn't vote for Ross McCormack in this poll, let me tell you. But Britt Belonga came third. I can give a bit of slack for that. You know, he's had an injury this season, so I can let you off. But fair play to the 44 people in this video who did go ahead and vote for Chris Wood. Fair play to you. You've, of course, managed to do that. I've also got to point out that 43 people voted for Will Grigg. And, yeah, that didn't really work out, did it? So, guys, there were my predictions from the start of the season. So let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of my predictions at the start of the season? I'll be very interested to know, because like I said, there were some interesting shouts in there. Also as well, like I said, what I would love to know from you guys is, who do you think has been the biggest surprise package of this season, and what was your worst prediction from the start of the season? Let me know down below. I'm very interested to know about that one. So guys, I must say that my championship playoff prediction video will be coming out on the Friday at 4 o'clock, so make sure you guys do go ahead and stay tuned for that. But at the moment, I'm just really enjoying making videos. So like I said, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So thank you so much for watching. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the other links in the description down below. Make sure you subscribe for regular championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.